Man, I am really disappointed today because we are actually feeling the repercussions of the fake news that is plaguing the Pokemon community. That everyone else is just making up lies for views and attention, and they're just covering all these fake leaks and unsupported rumors with absolutely no credibility behind them, to the point where we're just burned out. That they have pretty much destroyed the credibility of any Pokemon news for their own greed, to where it just doesn't even matter anymore at this point. And then when you see something like this, Pikachu originally had a second evolution called Gorochu with large fangs and 2 horns, you immediately block it out. Like, my BS detector is finely tuned when it comes to Pokemon. I see this, I'm like, well, that just sounds like trash, so why am I going to invest any time into it? But it's real news. And not only is it real news, it actually has a massive impact on the entirety of Pokemon. This is the franchise mascot. And it could have had a second evolution. What would Pikachu have been like beyond Raichu? That's actually what's talked about in this interview right here, and it shaped the entirety of Pokemon as we know it. And then another thing that I'm disappointed in is that it's not Nintendo Switch news, so no one cares about it as well. So almost everyone that's covering Pokemon information is incredible right now because they've ruined all their credibility just covering all this garbage out there, and then everyone else only cares about the Nintendo Switch when we actually have some serious Pokemon news to talk about. And that's another thing that disappoints me. It feels like people just care less about Pokemon in general. That Pokemon trivia, Pokemon battling, just the core of Pokemon is really dead to everyone right now, and the only thing that matters is Pokemon Switch, so things like this kind of get brushed over when this should have had a much more massive blow up. I mean, look at this. 126 Facebook shares, 8 retweets or 8 tweets, like that's nothing. When this is actually crazy because we have information coming from the Pokemon Company in an interview in this drought of news. And the crazy thing is, like, this is new. We've known about beta Pokemon and unused Pokemon designs for a long time right now. Now, there's a lot of trivia videos on this and stuff where we just see like random doodles and sketches and background Pokemon from the earliest concepts of the original Pocket Monsters. I mean, some of these might seem familiar to you guys because there was that trend where, like, I don't remember who did it first, but someone did it first, and then like 8 other PokeTubers copied them for like the top 10 beta Pokemon or top 10 unreleased Pokemon. So this was kind of a trend that blew up, but out of all of that, you know, we have years, we have decades of information from the early days of Pokemon, yet this was something that has never been known before, and finally it has its own little article right here. So Gorochu was intended to be an evolution to Raichu to be released alongside Pikachu and Raichu in Pokemon Red and Blue games. Pikachu's original illustrator Atsuko Nishida and Pokemon designer Ken Sugimori revealed the lost evolution in an interview on May 2nd, and it was translated by Siliconera on May 3rd. It's that recent. Like, this is a part of Pokemon history that finally just kind of sprouted out of nowhere, and it was so sudden and it was so strange that it was just completely looked over, and that absolutely disappoints me. Sugimori cited game balance issues, which led to the design being omitted from the games. I don't know what it means for game balance, so that's why we really have to go into this interview. The design was to include fangs and a pair of horns. So Gorochu seems like it was going to be very Raijin inspired, which is kind of a cool thing to think about. So let's see what we got. Tell us how Nishida-san ended up being in charge of Pikachu's designs. That's another thing, it's like there was multiple, well, not multiple, but you know, Clefairy was also in line to be a mascot for the actual Pokemon franchise, and that's why we have the original Pocket Monsters, or it was called Pokemon Pocket Monsters manga. You've probably also seen this before for being a lewd, rude, and crude version of Pokemon, effectively just a gag manga that was pretty intense. It's like Red with a Clefairy, but also Pikachu was tagging around, and it was just really strange. So that's something kind of interesting. Ken Sugimori, series illustrator, Pocket Monsters, originally started as a game about fighting with monsters that fit in your pocket. When you hear monster, you think tough looking, so we're making the game with the image of tough looking monsters fighting each other, but then we had some people within development say, I want to see more cute monsters. That actually is a really interesting thing, because I was thinking about this very recently, like over the last day or so, and everyone, like when you're a kid, when you first hear like Pokemon, it's like Pokemon, that actually sounds a lot more cute and fun, but it's pocket monsters. That these aren't just cute creatures or, you know, battling creatures, they're actual monsters. Like monsters, which is pretty wild to think about. Since the game was about getting monsters to fight, collect, and trade, having only tough-looking monsters wasn't enough. After various considerations, it was decided that we needed cute monsters as well. At the time, we only had 3 designers. I was the main one in charge of Pokemon designs. However, I'm a male. I designed with a boy's heart to make the likes of Mewtwo, Gyarados, Snorlax, Lapras, other tough-looking monsters. Tough-looking Pokemon designs was all I could think of, so I thought cute monsters didn't even cross my mind. So that's when we got help from female designer Nishida, who was tasked with designing Pikachu. So Nishida, at the time I was in charge of designs for a Mega Drive game after joining Pokemon. I was requested to make an electric-type monster with 2 evolutions. There wasn't any specifications about animals to base it on. That's actually, yeah, like, so she was just told, yo, make 2 evolutions. So make a 3-stage electric type chain to actually introduce in Pokemon, and at least make one of them cute. That's really cool to think about the original design for Pokemon. Once again, we have insights. We can go back to like the beta ideas, and I mean, even if you like go to Capsule Monsters, I think that has like its own page on Bulbapedia that really shows the early days of Pokemon, you know, showing all this kind of beta art and stuff like that. So we have some insight, but even then, there's still things to discover about the early days of Pokemon, which is really nice. I didn't draw it on paper and directly design the pixel art, so there isn't any data of it now, but the first prototype I designed for Pikachu was a Daifuku-like creature in the shape of a long Daifuku with ears sticking out. I'll leave the rest to your imagination. It was nothing like the Pikachu we know today. Okay, what's a Daifuku? Oh. So that's why they have a I didn't think this was serious. So when you hear the word Daifuku, and you don't really understand anything about Japanese lore or mythology, I'm thinking like, what kind of yokai is this? What's significant? No. When you think cute electric Pokemon or monster that's supposed to be cute and electric, it's going to be a Japanese dessert treat with ears. Okay. So it was then named Pikachu. At first, you really couldn't distinguish what part was its head and what part was its body, so effectively just looked like that. And that feels very like early Digimon, like, you know, those I don't remember what they're called, but like first stage Digimon when they first hatch from the egg and stuff. They're just kind of like amorphous, and it could kind of work. Like, I would like to see maybe a callback to the original Daifuku Pikachu being introduced in a future generation of Pokemon, or have something like that. So that's kind of interesting. I named it without giving it much thought, but since an electric type, I threw in Pika. Editor's note, Japanese, Onamita, Pika Pika means glitter, sparkle, or shine. That's why there's also the Pika Pika no Mi in One Piece. I didn't have a mouse in mind for the chew, a Japanese noise like squeak. So it's pretty much just like sparkle squeak. That's the rough translation of Pikachu. And I actually don't remember the reason, but anyway, the name Pikachu came first, and from there I made it into a mouse. So yeah, like the whole just, you know, Pikachu. Yeah, I'm gonna play on the words and chew, and then that. So Pikachu wasn't designed first. The name more influenced the design of Pikachu. Again, really interesting insight into the design of the franchise mascot of the game and thing that has taken over the world that we all love so much. That's wild. Were there twists and turns before it came Pikachu that eventually appeared in the game? Nishida-san and I corresponded while creating Pikachu, and the name Pikachu really resonated with me personally, and I thought cute. It is a cute name. And it is something interesting to note about Pikachu, that a lot of Pokemon, they have different names in Japanese and then translated to other parts of the world, but Pikachu is Pikachu, that it's effectively nonsense to us kids, especially growing up in the late 90s in America, but it actually still held its own significance to everyone for what Pikachu is. So that's actually really interesting. For this reason, I was shown the Daifuku-like design, and I asked Nishida to make it even cuter. So you have this big guy, Nishino, pictured above, who is actually the model for Snorlax, and he's abnormally noisy about cute things. That's... Alright, there was actually an inspiration, a human inspiration for Snorlax. That's pretty funny. Snorlax's Japanese name, Kabigan, was also inspired by Nishino's nickname. Several references throughout the series to connect Nishino to Snorlax. That's actually really cool. I've always liked fancy characters. It's always difficult to answer which character I like best. There's just something about cute things that happen to pop out for me. You were like cuter, and I remember, this is frustrating. Could you imagine that? You're taking a Daifuku and you're making ears. You're trying to make it like an electric little mouse cute thing, and your boss is just yelling, "Cuter! Make it cuter! We have all these boy monsters, but we need cute things for our game." Like that is the hectic early, or not, like, yeah, mid-90s, early 90s Pokemon designs. That's pretty funny. Did you keep sending it back to Nishino-san? No, it didn't take long for it to take shape of the very first completed form. since it was electric type, I thought it'd be nice to have it store electricity in cheek pouches, and I was really into squirrels, so squirrels store food in their cheeks. So Pikachu actually is squirrel inspired while being an electric mouse. I did want to give some kind of lightning part to it. And then we also have like a little funny part of the interview. So this is embarrassing, but I like Pikachu so much, I get this feeling of not wanting to let other people have Pikachu, and even considered simply hiding Pikachu, and it seems to be an inspiration behind Pikachu's rare encounter rate. However, Pikachu became the mascot, and a lot of the game guides said, hey, catch a Pikachu. Before you know it, everyone had a Pikachu, and my plan completely backfired. That's a little funny right there. So its time as Daifuku, it didn't have cheek pouches. It did not. Cheek pouches didn't exist during the Daifuku time. During the process of making it cuter, I added cheek pouches because I wanted to give it a sense of charging. So the whole, you know, Pikachu just Pika, like that whole charge thing, that's actually, like it all just came a part of the design. So watching development of a single Pokemon is really cool because this is behind the scenes for maybe, I wouldn't say every Pokemon. I wouldn't say that every Pokemon is as detailed as this. Like Sugimori and other Pokemon designers, it seems like they can just spit out a couple of really awesome ones, but then when they really want to make a really symbolic design for the franchise, there can be a lot that goes into it, which is pretty cool. What about the dark ear tips? I believe that was a leftover from its time as a Daifuku. They even have Pikachu's Daifuku phase. So we have little ball of nothing with ears, and it's like, yep, this is just it was that, and then it wasn't, and then it was a Pikachu. And then we get to the serious stuff, guys. In the game, Pikachu only evolves to Raichu, but I hear that at first there were 3 stages. Why did it end up only being 2, or at least only having 1 evolution? Yes, it was Pikachu, Raichu, and then Gorochu. I like that they kept the mouse design, the chew through it. Pokemon known as Gorochu bared fangs and even had a pair of horns. So going from cute into what effectively was a pocket monster. Editor's note, Rai comes from the Japanese word for thunder, Goro comes from Goro, the Japanese onomatopoeia for rumbling, usually used in context of thunder, which is actually really cool. So I like that, the symbolicness of using just Japanese onomatopoeia or Japanese sayings and words and stuff really means something, and then even outside of Japan, it sounds cool to us. Pikachu, Raichu, it works. Sugimori, there wasn't any problem with its appearances, but it was omitted due to matters surrounding game balance. Really, that was it. Just game balance. I thought there was maybe something a little extra, so I wonder how many other Pokemon were omitted and how many other things like that, because remember, it wasn't just the original 151, that there was actually supposed to be like 190 Pokemon involved. That's where the Pokemon index numbers and ID values come in. I talked about this a lot. There's been a lot of coverage about it just throughout the history of Pokemon, and that's why we have the second generation. Effectively, what happened was the original split into 2, and then they just kind of filled it in to bring us to a higher amount of Pokemon, which is pretty interesting, but yeah, so really nothing was keeping it. I was wondering maybe the design was scrapped for being too intimidating or too weird, but just game balance. Having a 3-stage electric Pokemon, maybe a little too much with what they had in mind for the mascot. Like, how would it be unbalanced, though? That is so interesting. So the first game, there were 151 Pokemon. What was Pikachu's initial reception within the company? When the number of Pokemon started coming together, we needed to shake things up. That's why I printed out pixel art and had the popularity context in the company asking which one do you like, and Pikachu was the most popular. So that was really it. Pikachu's popularity really started heating up when 1997 anime started with Ash choosing Pikachu as his partner, and that was the biggest break. It's actually a decision from the director. In the game, you choose one of Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur, but if Satoshi chose one of the 3, it would have created a gap with kids that didn't pick the Pokemon, so I believe that's why he went with Pikachu. So actually that does make a lot of sense. If Ash picked one, the other 2 would have fallen off in popularity, which kind of devalues a lot of what's going on. Again, it was also because Pikachu was popular, so that's another reason. Then there's just like talk about its evolution of design as well as its cry. Stuff like that. Everyone around the world loves Pikachu. Why do you think that is? I think there's a strong sense that comes from being raised by the fans. I believe that that's what made Pikachu what it is today. I like to see Pikachu as the fruit of everyone's love, and I really feel I could actually agree. So Nishida, pretty on the ball with that one. I think it's because Pikachu is easy to understand. At first, we couldn't use colors well and the resolution was coarse. From there, Pikachu was made to have characteristic shape and its colors were simple. It was easy to understand, yet had characteristics. I believe that was the secret behind Pikachu's universal love. And once again, like if you take a lot of different random Pokemon, some of them, they do feel like Pokemon, others just feel like modified animals, or some just feel like straight up strange creatures or monsters. But you look at Pikachu, and Pikachu is like, what do you describe Pokemon as? Pikachu. It's so simple that even parents of the game, or parents of kids that play the game, who have no understanding of Pokemon, can at least point out and be like, that's a Pikachu. Sure, if it was any other mascot, that could have also been the same, but Pikachu, it's yellow, it's a strange looking mouse, and it shoots electricity, so I think that just kind of encapsulates everything that was Pokemon, or is Pokemon. The worldwide popularity of Pokemon Go seems to have connected for another big break. That is something. And then here is Clefairy. So we've already kind of known about this for a while, but did you ever think about creating the next Pikachu? As an artist, it's always my intent to create characters that can be cherished. However, for now, Pikachu is one and only. It was a big surprise that my hard work went into getting Nishino-san's approval, led to a worldwide popularity as a result. I'll like to see another Pokemon get some attention like Clefairy. Yeah. Clefairy was as a result of my attempt of creating a cute Pokemon. However, Pikachu managed to impressively take the popularity and left Clefairy in the shade. I didn't know Sugimori created Clefairy. So yeah, actually Sugimori, I mean, like, Clefairy is pretty cute. And you could actually see that as like a Sugimori going from monsters trying to make something else. And then once again, it does kind of represent the other aspects of Pokemon. But Pikachu ended up winning, and it could have actually had something beyond Raichu. So really awesome news, really awesome insight behind Pokemon, and then giving us a revelation right before we go into the next chapter with the Pokemon Switch game. I'm pretty excited for all that. I hope you guys are as well. So guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.